So I was just checking before the episode aired, what is this one called anyway? And there it said Spirit of the Ducks. And then I thought, is this it? Because, and maybe a really tiny spoiler if you haven't followed the news and don't want to know anything before going in, but there was supposed to be an episode that featured a few of the original Ducks. So yeah, this is the episode. Wow. Hi fellow Disney Plus watchers, this is Thoughts After a Disney Plus Watch, where we review everything new Disney Plus coming out, and I'm glad you're watching. This is now my favorite episode, and not only because it featured the original Ducks, but because it really tested the main characters Gordon and Evan in a great way. It was a really engaging episode actually, and this one feels a little more sophisticated and mature than the previous ones. And no, not because we get the matured Ducks, the older Ducks in here, but just in general it feels like this series is growing a little with this episode. Especially Gordon Bombay learns something about himself as he finds out that not everyone thinks of him that fondly. Even someone who he was really close with in the movies seems to have stopped putting faith in Gordon. There's interesting stuff in this week's chapter. Just so you know, if you're interested in commentary on previous episodes, you can find them listed on the right in the description or on my channel page. And before we move on, did you know I'm currently the only review channel on YouTube that is specifically Disney Plus? You'll have an idea on what to expect. Click that button and that bell if you want to follow along. Thank you so much. Now I have to give a spoiler warning from here on out. I do want to talk about a few things and explain why I think this was the best episode so far. Spoilers, spoilers, spoilers. Have you heard spoilers already? Did I say spoilers already? Here we go. I think Gordon is rethinking his life after the events of this episode, and I think that we as an audience now see his douchey, grumpy ways that we mostly saw in the first few episodes in a new light. Let me explain. It's no secret that I wasn't a big fan of the way Gordon was portrayed at the start of the season. Instead of a complex and disillusioned character, he came across as deliberately written as a prick, just to have a surprising retcon going on. Now, it did turn around later, although I still wasn't feeling it. Now that Gordon starts to find out that he wasn't invited to the party that honored the Ducks of all parties, he's starting to question how he wants to be perceived. At least that's how I see it. The cocky, sadistic Gordon from the beginning of this story was a very sour experience, I think, but it does, in hindsight, make this particular episode better, because you see what that attitude has caused. One of the more touching moments of this episode was when Gordon found out about why Charlie didn't come. The moment Fulton said, "Charlie didn't come because it's not like you've been showing up for us lately, so why should he show up?" I felt that. Because here Bombay really finds out that his, let's call it exiling, did have its effect on his social life and connections to old friends. It's very human stuff and it worked really good in this episode, I think. It's kind of the most redeeming episode for Gordon Bombay so far, because besides his inner realization that he needs to do better and commit, he also got his redemption within the legend of Ducks. That scene where the old Ducks are reminiscing on stage and praise the legend Bombay was effective, not only because it earns nostalgia points, but because just before, Bombay got his personal stuff between him and the Ducks sorted out in a satisfying way too. Gordon hasn't grown this much since the start of the show. And man, I just love the scene with the limo on the ice. I know the writers just wrote in that Lester drives a limo just to have that scene, but come on, man. I don't feel a lot of nostalgia for this show because I just watched the movies like 4 months ago, but still I get the feels here. The description on IMDb pretty much sums it up. With the original Ducks team back, Evan and Bombay consider where their loyalty lies. Not stealing that phrase for my review, by the way, just want to build a bridge between Bombay to Evan, cause Evan's got a good storyline going on too. I was pretty interested in this episode after the cliffhanger that Coach T wanted to see Evan about the Ducks. Now we all imagined where that would go. He's gonna be stuck between two teams, his friends and the club he always played with and wanted to play with. Coach T even offers him a scholarship and he can finally take hockey serious again. Okay, so why was this story working in this episode? Well, for starters, it builds on the relationship with his mother as she doesn't want to make a decision for him. That was a good scene. Second, him training with the Ducks is working against him because at the end of the episode, they are disappointed in him, even when he made the choice not to do it. So this whole Ducks opportunity is both his biggest dream, his biggest mistake, and the most damaging thing that happened to his relationship with everyone from the Don't Bothers. And think about this, there are similar things happening to Gordon and Evan in this episode regarding their teammates, because the original Ducks gang leave Gordon behind at first because they think that he doesn't care, and later on the same happens to Evan eventually. No pun intended, not intended. He does care very much, he even made the hardest choice not to do it, but his team too leaves him behind in a way. So there's synchronicity between Evan and Gordon. I thought the stories of Evan and Gordon really worked well together. All in all, the best episode of the bunch. Because of the mature way of fleshing Gordon out, I like the synchronicity of character beats between Gordon and Evan. It was fun to see the old gang back. Was a little bit searching for who was who with a few of them, so that's fun. The humor was once again solid. Lauren Graham is really great in this role, so it's great. This episode just works the best for me so far. I'm thinking about wrapping this up. If you like, you can tell me down below what you thought of this week's episode. I'm back next week, of course, with a new episode and also Big Shot episode 4. And the Bad Batch is coming. Really, really looking forward to that myself. For now, have a wonderful day and see ya.